Good evening, everyone. So I hope you guys are enjoying the sessions this evening sessions around these 21 projects. Today we are going to start with generative AI, and then we'll have four projects around Gen AI, and then three projects around Agent AI. So I just wanted to ask again. I hope you guys are, uh, enjoying these sessions, learning from these sessions. I know I started a bit early, so what we'll do is I'll talk a bit about myself whilst the other folks come. Okay. So, hi guys, my name is Sampurn Ratan Jain. I've been a data scientist since 2015. Back then, there was not even a job called data scientist in India. The official title I still remember was a software engineer. But then at that time I was working in R. I know it sounds so old. But yeah, over the past almost 10 years, no, more than 10 years, I've had the opportunity to see data science grow, not just in India, but as a whole. I've seen data science evolve from machine learning to, deep learning to Gen AI and even agentic AI. I've seen how it used to be so difficult to build a model, and nowadays it's just a few measly lines in sklearn or LangChain or PyTorch. It's much more fun. It allows us to basically not get into the complexities of you know of the model themselves. But I hope you guys realize that if you are looking for a data science job, you will have to get into these complexities someday or the other, right? So how many of you have at least uh, heard of me? Sorry. I hope all of us were in the orientation session. That is where you must have first seen me, right? Good, good. So uh, the point, so one question I keep getting asked is that why did I switch from an industry to where there was active development, active, yes, anime fan, yes. So where there was active development, active, growth in terms of agentic AI, active learning. Uh, why did I switch from that to this? So one thing that I found, I think whenever I try to answer that, when I always say that the wins as a teacher are much greater as a developer, in my opinion. So, having said that, let's start today's session. So, how many of you have heard of SQL? Can somebody tell me the full form of SQL? Structured Query Language. And you know what's the most amazing thing about SQL is that it is just a language. And having said that, let's start. I'll be sharing my screen and I would like you guys to tell me if the zoom is adequate. Can you guys read what is there on the screen? Okay. So, uh, ultimately, with the advent of Gen AI, people started questioning, why do I need SQL? Can I not speak in English and get an answer? Because what would happen is that say there's a business person who does not understand SQL, and obviously it's not his job to learn SQL. This business person wants some sort of data, some sort of report, some sort of change in a dashboard. He or she will first have to explain it to a technical person. The technical person may get it right the first time or may not get it right, right? And then the technical person will implement it. Then there will be some testing. Then there will be some deployments. This is a very, very large cycle. So this is where a very amazing project came into picture, text to SQL. Sometimes it's written like this, sometimes it's written like text to with the two, right? And sometimes it's said to be natural language to SQL generator. Okay. So this is the primary ask, that can I talk to my data directly? Can I talk to my data without involving the technical person, without involving a months long cycle? Now, like I said, this is where can you so Adiba, you didn't miss anything. It's okay. I was just explaining. Did class start before 8 p.m.? No, the class didn't start. I was just introducing myself. I hope that's okay. I started before, but yeah, I didn't start the class. Okay. So, as I was saying, that bridging this gap between human language and data, not just data, in fact, not just data, but databases. This is where text to SQL comes into play. And do you guys remember when I asked you what is the full form of SQL? It's structured query language. And we need to remember that it is a language, right? So think about translation models. I know I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but think about translation models. What do they do? They just translate English language to any other language, or one language to other, right? Think about Google Translate. So if you have English language as your source, you can pass it through Google Translate and you will get French if that's your target language. Simple, right? Everybody understood that? Okay. Now, remember that SQL is just another language. What is stopping me from creating a translation model that converts English to structured query language? Does that make sense to you guys? So again, remember, and this is not just true for SQL. At the end of the day, any programming language that you are writing in, whether that be Python, Julia, Scala, R, anything, right? You are ultimately creating instructions that in your mind, at least, you must be starting with English, Hindi, some native language, right? And then you're converting it into code. Here the translation model is your brain, right? Even if you sit down to write SQL, structured query language, SQL queries, your brain will be translating what you want from your native language. Maybe it may be English, it may be Hindi, and then to SQL, right? Does that make sense? Okay. Yes, every language will have its own grammar and rules, but the translation model is supposed to take care of those, right? Okay. So, how does a text to SQL translation engine work? Okay. So the first thing is that they have to identify the intent of the text. So obviously, first you will pass in some English text, right? Most SQL language translators, they still work with English. Sadly, there are some that are trying to work in multiple languages, but right now they are the most accurate ones. They work only in English, right? So if you say, can somebody give me a sample English statement that can be converted into a SQL query? Not just create. So for example, create a table around models. Okay. So that is the English that you would need to translate, right? Create a table for models, or create a table for products, create a table for students, create a table for employees, right? That would be, or update the table for what is the best selling product. Yes, that's a very good example, guy, right? What is the best selling product is a very good example of the query that I would ask. Okay. So now The first thing that you would need to do is understand the natural language. This portion is sometimes called as NLU, or natural language understanding. Okay, what is the intent of the user, or what is the intent of uh, the phrase that has been passed? What are the key entities to work on? What is the ultimate goal, right? This is what you need to do as a first step. The second step is basically understanding that, okay, I have understood what the user wants. If they have said it in English. Now I need to understand the database and connect which tables do I need to pick, which columns do I need to pick, which aggregation do I need to make, which joins do I need to make. All of this is, understanding of the schema, understanding of the tables, understanding of the database, understanding of the columns. All of this is a second step, and then you have to link the first step with the second step. Okay, understood? Understood? Okay. The third step is actually the most critical step, and this is where the LLMs will come into play, where you explain the intent of the user, where you explain the database schema to an LLM engine, right? And then you ask the LLM engine to generate a SQL query. And this can range from any kind of simple statement such as select, or maybe it may be a complex query that involves joins, where, aggregate functions, things like that. Okay. Okay. Embedding is not something that we are going to talk about today. Okay. But yeah, final step is, now, if you have generated a SQL query, you are not just going to keep it, right? You want to execute it. And if there is some syntactic error, go back to the LLM saying that this is the error, please fix it. Or this is the output, please review if it is correct or not. Okay. So this is what you will do. Okay. Is this understood? This is a very high level flow and very high level understanding. It's sometimes called as a 30,000 feet view in business terms. But I hope everybody understood this. Can you just write understood in the chat? For those who are late, it's perfectly fine. You will understand from the next few things. Okay. 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 So everybody understood this. Good. Okay. So obviously we can talk about the key application use cases. It's obviously business intelligence and analytics for non-tech professionals, data exploration. There are many, many, many use cases. I could have written, 20 more, but definitely go through these when I share the notebook with you guys. Okay. Okay. Now, what are the advantages and challenges? We all know there is increased accessibility, the efficiency of the entire data retrieval and report generation process is increased because there is no middleman, there is no tech person, right? And obviously, there's a reduced reliance on technical experts, right? Now, what are the challenges? Well, think about this. Even if what is regex? We have not talked about regex. Yeah. So even if you know, I try to be as clear as possible and I frame a sentence, well, so there are about 200 people, 300 people in the chat. Will all 300 people get it? It is the inherent nature of language, especially English language, that there is some ambiguity in whatever is spoken or written. That is an inherent nature of language. You cannot do away with it. So the ambiguity of natural language is still a challenge. Okay. Okay. Then, then what happens if you have 2000 tables? If your production database has 2000 tables, what happens if there are multiple tables with the same column? Or what happens if there are tables that are completely different, unrelated to each other, but have very similar column names. For example, let's take the example of students and teachers. Let's say GFG has a database of students and teachers. These are highly unrelated tables, right? But all of those would have similar column names. For example, name, age, gender, email ID, phone number, right? How does the LLM figure out how to use which table and which column, right? These are still open challenges in text to SQL uh, models. Okay. Yes. So you can give description about column, but then there is an issue. So this is a really good answer, Akshay. Uh, So this is called data dictionary. You can provide a data dictionary, and I'll showcase that you can do that. But there is a disadvantage, right? At the end of the day, if you provide description about each and every column for each and every table of each and every database, your prompt will be absolutely large and massive, and it will take a lot of time to process, right? And not just time, it will be cost as well. Images are so just how there is ambiguity in natural language, images have much more ambiguity. Okay. Okay. So let's just look at state of the art models. Does anybody know what does the meaning of state of the art? Okay. So state of the art is the best performing model for a particular problem statement. And text to SQL is such a massive problem statement that there are specific models that focus on just text to SQL models, on just text to SQL modeling. Okay, so this is what state of the art means, and there are many, many, many such problem statements. In fact, let me just go on a tangent and let's just open this papers with code. Okay. Oh, okay. So papers with code is down. So there's a repository called Papers with Code, and it contains all of the state-of-the-art models. And for some reason, it's down. That's unfortunate. But yeah, you can even look at it in other, popular websites. But yeah, Papers with Code is the best website to look at it. It seems to be down today. That's just unfortunate. Okay. So in fact, the second search is papers with code down, right? Okay, that's just disheartening. It's okay. If it goes up, definitely look at it. But let's just look at state of the art models for SQL. In fact, there are specific data sets that allow that you need to work on that these data sets contain all kinds of variations, all kinds of complex edge cases around text to SQL, right? And the models are evaluated on these data sets. So can you guys see this? Let me just zoom it in. What is the best performing? What is the best performing model? So human performance is still the best performing model with an average accuracy of correct execution of almost 93%, right? So it's not a solved problem. And why I wanted to talk about this is because in data science, you will see a lot of unsolved problems, right? Many people are working on it, right? But the best thing is that you could be one of those people. There is nothing, you can literally download the training data set and the evaluation data set from here. Okay. Now, the second best model is something called long data SQL, which has a performance of 77.5%. Okay. Then there is Ask Data plus GPT-4o, right? There are many combination of models. So there is no single model that is performing really well, but it seems like a combination of model is performing better. So let's just look at single model. Yeah, there's a Databricks single model. There's a single model. Yeah, okay. So yeah, there are a lot of single models as well that are performing well. Okay. You should try, where is this? Did it go out? Yeah, so you should definitely try this one. I was playing around with this, but you will require a lot of RAM, and it did absolutely well. I am not in agreement with this number of 70.5%. In my experiments, it came out to be close to 99% when I was playing around with this, right? But the only disadvantage is that it requires a lot of GPU RAM. Okay, experiment with this. Each model will have a SQL or a GitHub repository link, and you can play around with this. But today we are not going to do all of this. We are not going to create complex models. We are not going to fine tune complex models. What we are trying to do is see how well prompt engineering can work for such a complex problem statement. Okay. 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 Yes, these all convert text to SQL. If you are not able to test them out, it's okay, Jayesh. But yeah, the more important thing is to be aware of this benchmark and aware of these models in data science. Okay. So let's just look at what our approach is going to be. And I'm going to zoom out a bit so that the image shows. I hope it's still readable. Let me know if it's still readable. Okay. So we are the user. Okay. We will pass on an English query, plain English query. Okay. And then what we will do is we'll send this query to an LLM. And you guys must be thinking, oh, how can I get access to an LLM? I'll teach you that. It will be free and it will be amazing. Okay. Now you will have to pass the database schema, okay, which is the entire information around the database. Will be a massive prompt that explains what to do. This basically, it takes these 4 steps and details out what to do. Okay. And what is the SQL dialect? What does dialect mean? I'm not asking for SQL dialect. I'm asking for the English word meaning, not the SQL dialect. I'm asking for the English word meaning of dialect. So yes, variation of a language. Yes, not accent, variation of a language. So what would you think SQL dialect would mean? Any guesses? Uh, no. So yes, Oracle, MySQL, SQLite, PostgreSQL, PL SQL, MySQL, all of these are dialects of SQL. Remember, SQL is a language. SQL or SQL is the same thing. I hope you guys know that. I will keep those, keep on switching those two terms. But yeah, SQL is a language, and these are dialects of these language. PostgreSQL, MySQL, Oracle SQL, Microsoft SQL. There are many, right? So these are all dialects. So MongoDB is a NoSQL dialect. Okay. MongoDB is not SQL, correct, Shivang? Okay. Do we have to write these? So do these all have different syntax for writing SQL queries? Yes, Rudra. So the syntax is ever so slightly different for each of these languages. For example, Postgres will have slightly different syntax than MySQL. MySQL will have slightly different syntax than Oracle SQL. Let's take even a deeper dive of an example. Uh, so if you get if you want to get something, if you have a select star query, you can limit the number of rows in Postgres by using the keyword limit, right? Whereas in MySQL, it has to be where no row number is less than equal to something, right? That's the major difference. There will be slight differences. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So all these three things, these three really important things, this will be a huge input. Text to SQL will be a huge input, but SQL dialect will be like a one word thing. What is the, is it Postgres? Is it SQLite? Is it MySQL? Just this one word. Okay. So I hope you guys understand why it is important to pass SQLite as a input. Okay. And and what is most important is that if the SQLite dialect changes, our system is comfortable. It's a text to SQL converter. It's a text to SQL translator, not text to PostgreSQL, not text to MySQL, not text to Oracle SQL. It can change on the basis of SQL dialect. That is going to be an awesome superpower to have for a system, right? Now, all of these will be passed to the LLM. The LLM will, respond, and that response will be sent to Python. Python is going to act as an intermediary between the LLM and the database to do step number 4, which is execute the query. Does that make sense? Okay, I'll repeat again. So once we have all of the inputs, again, technically the English query provided by the user, which is us, is an input as well. Once we have all of these inputs, 1, 2, 3, 4, these 4 inputs are passed to the LLM, and the LLM generates a SQL query. LLM does the first 3 steps, which is understand what the intent of the English query is, understand the database and how it links to the intent, generate an SQL query, right? But the query execution is not something that we'll be learning today via LLM. We can do that via LLM only, but we'll not be learning that today. We'll learn it maybe uh, 3 days from now or 4 days from now. Okay. But yeah, uh, the query execution, to do the query execution, Python acts as an intermediator between the LLM and the database. Okay, is that understood? Okay. Finally, Python then responds to the user. Okay, that's fairly simple to understand, right? Now, all of you must be thinking, we are talking about text to SQL, but how will I get data from? From where can I get data? Did anybody think about that? Database, yes, but database, even in a database, there's no, uh, you know, already created database for you, and these the bird based databases are, petabytes of database. How do you use those? I don't think you will be able to use those in a very simple manner, right? So what do we do then? We can use internet based data. We need to fine tune it. We don't need to fine tune it. We don't. Okay, so everybody needs to understand this. In data science, data comes before the science. If you don't have data, don't work on the science. Okay. So any guesses as to how can we get the data? How can we collect the data? How can we scrape the data? How can we, get the data? Okay. How about, can we use synthetic data? Yes, Ajay, good. Can we get synthetic data? But then how do we do synthetic data? I mean, I don't want to learn another thing to, generate synthetic data. Well, this is where I'm going to talk to you about guys about a tool called Mockery. I'll just change this. Yeah. Okay. So everybody can see this page. Okay. To generate synthetic data, what you can do is use this tool called Mockery. You don't really need to sign up. You don't really need to pay. It's absolutely free of cost. Okay. Completely free of cost. What is synthetic data? That's actually a good question, Maruti. So, this is fake data, generated by another model. Okay. Well, placeholder would be a incomplete word, but pseudo data. Okay, let me just generate some data and show it to you guys. Okay. So by default, you can have a lot of kinds of data. So there are 211 different kinds of data, whether that be country code, currency code, drug code, you know, frequency, full name, gender, right? Uh, and then ICD-10 codes, which are related to medicine, postal codes, product names, regular expressions, things like that. Okay. So, or what I strongly recommend is generate data using AI. Anybody like fill in pandas? No, no, no. This is fake data. This is, fake data generated for our purpose of testing our text to SQL, you know, uh, solution that we are going to create. Okay. So anybody wants to give me some sort of topic on which I can generate some fake data? Sports, okay. University, sports is too generic. Maybe something more. Love, love is not a good topic, but genomics. Let's talk about genomics. Okay. You can control the number of fields that you want, let's say 20. And let's just generate genomics data. It will take some time, maybe 30 to 40 seconds, and it created it fairly quickly. So patient ID, genetic variant, and it gives custom list, genetic expression level 0 to 100, mutation type, insertion, deletion, substitution, chromosome number maximum of 23, which makes sense, DNA sequence, okay, sorry, protein structure, mutation effect, genetic disorder. This is as close to a production level data as you will get. Don't you guys think? Can't we use chat gp to generate and generate data? Anjali, I'll showcase that why. Okay, in a bit. We should not be using chat gp to generate data. Let me just show you guys why in a bit. Okay, but tell me, do you think this is good data even for a fake data set? Okay, so let's just do another, because this is a field that I don't really personally understand. Maybe let's just take a very simple employees table. Would you guys be okay with that? Stock market or e-commerce? E-commerce, actually, I don't want to take e-commerce because I will show that I have done e-commerce already. Okay. So other than e-commerce, let's just hotel or student, psychology, anime characters. Okay. Airlines is a good topic. I like airlines. Flight, uh, flights and airlines. All actually just flight logs. Okay. Uh, Actually, let me just improve this with flight ID. Okay. Okay. So flight ID, flight number, airline name, uh, a departure airport, arrival airport, a departure time, arrival time, duration hours, distance miles, passenger count. Feels like a really amazing data set. Okay. So let me just another thing, you can choose like multiple kinds of data outputs. So let me just download it as a CSV. I can do up to 1,000 rows. So I'll generate it and I'll allow this. And I'll have to stop my screen share and share the entire screen. Just give me a second. So let me just share my entire screen. And yeah, that was actually pretty quick in my opinion as well. And let me just try to open this. Yeah. So can you guys see that this is really amazing? Flight ID, flight number, airline name, departure, airport, arrival, airport, departure time, arrival time, duration hours, distance miles, passenger count. Everything is absolutely perfect. Almost just too amazing, right? Yeah. So Cathay Pacific, Qatar Airways, Air Canada, all of these are real international airlines. And even these are real airports. Yeah, JFK is a really popular airport. Changi in Singapore is a really popular airport. This is almost too good, right? Yes? Yes, chalo, good. Now, what should I do next? Okay, so let me just delete this. Okay. And I will just do save as this was flight logs. Okay, and just do save. Okay, then I'll go to my schemas and I'll look at that. I can generate 1,000 more rows. I can do anything, right? It also gives you a really simple curl command that you can run. Okay, to get the data. Okay. Now, why do I? Okay, so I'll do another one. Let's do airline information. Air carriers, airlines, and companies. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll do this data set column and I'll select a data set. Oh, I did not create this as a data set. So just a minute. I'll create this as a data set and it will take some time. I know these are a lot of steps, but once you get used to it, it will be fairly quick. Okay. Now I'll just create another airlines companies. And I'll search for something called data set column, right? And I'll select flight logs and I'll do airline name. Okay. And now, do you guys see what happened? Yes, this is a data set with a foreign key. This is absolutely amazing. So all of these two files, these two data sets are now linked to each other. These two CSV files are now linked to each other. This is going to be really hard for ChatGPT to do. It's almost close to impossible. Okay. So this is why I recommend Mokro. I'm not saying that this is the only way you should be doing it. Obviously, uh, uh, there are multiple ways. Foreign key is linking one data table to another. For example, student ID can link to the student personal details, to the student attendance records, to the student marks as well. Okay. So so this is why I recommend Mokru. Obviously, if you can get ChatGPT to work in such a seamless manner, definitely try it. Play around with mokru.com and you will love it, I'm telling you. Okay. So what I have done is, in preparation for the the class, I've created an e-commerce data set already. There are three tables in this e-commerce data set. One is customers, first name, last name, customer ID, email, phone number, address, city, country, postcode, and for loyalty points, right? Just a standard customer data. Any doubt in this? Okay. Then I also have products. So product ID, product name, description, price, discount percentage, category, brand, stock quantity, all of these product details, shipping costs, shipping method, seller rating. These are many, there are, I think, if I remember, 30 columns which are linked to the products details. Okay. Remember product ID and customer ID. Okay. Then we have orders. In orders, we have order ID. We have customer ID from the customers table. Then product ID from the product table. And then obviously quantity, unit price, total price, order date, shipping address, payment method, and status. We were able to create three tables that were no, this is not authentic data, it's like mock data, it's almost authentic, it is fairly realistic. We were able to create an orders table that uses this information of customers table and product table that we were creating. If you are able to get ChatGPT to do this, please try to do so. Definitely feel free to do it. If you think Mokru is a bit too complex, definitely try to do this. Okay. And remember that you can always share this URL with anybody and everybody. In fact, you can try to just run this in your shell command right now, and it will work for you guys as well. Okay. So this is amazing, right? So you can just download all of this data, and yeah, that's it. We finally have our data, right? What is the input data, sir? What does that mean? We are not going to fine tune the model or fine tune anything. You will see. Okay. So everybody understood that we were able to create data fairly simply with Mokro, right? Some of you may not agree that this is the perfect method. Some of you may think that this is fairly easy. Some of you may think that ChatGPT is better. But yeah, in my opinion, this is, if you had to create maybe 20 tables, right? 20 mock tables. This is something that you should be using instead uh, of chat gpt. Okay. This is generating data using something like, yes, they have created their own LLM model. It may not be chat gpt, we do not know what that is. FK is foreign key. Foreign key is used to link two or more tables. Okay. Just how for an order, you will not just need an order ID. You will also need to know which customer put in that order. What is the product that has been bought, right? So this is what a foreign key is. Okay. Instead of putting all the data in one table, you can have separate tables for each entity. One entity is customer, one entity is product, and the third entity is order. And you can have just an ID, and it will, you can just link that ID in this table. Okay, this is what a foreign key. Okay, okay, okay. So let's move ahead. Now we have the data, but we haven't set up the database, right? Have we set up the database? Yes, no? We have just downloaded CSV files, right? We need to publish these CSV files in a database, right? Now, we are going to use something called SQLite, which is the default Python database. It's not an actual database. It's it's literally called it's literally a light database created within Python. It's literally a Python class that acts like a database. It's not a real database. Please remember. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's a Python library. You can think of say that as well. Okay. Okay. If SQLite is a real DB, I may be wrong. I can be wrong, right? Thank you, Guy, for correcting me if that's the case. Okay. So now you must be thinking to create database, to create a database, I'll have to, basically create all of these SQL commands and, and all of this. How will I create these, right? How do I create these? I will have to learn SQL to create these, right? But I don't want to learn SQL. What I'll do is I'll go to Mokru. I'll change this to SQL, and I'll just include in just tick mark on the include create table, and I'll just generate data. And instead of mock data, let's just call it orders SQL data. Okay, and let's just download it, and let's just open it. And you guys see what just happened? So it gave us this create table command. And I can literally ignore the one row that I created to download the data, because you cannot do zero. Can you do zero? If you're able to, no, no. So you have to do at least one. Okay. So I can just copy this and paste this over here. I think this was orders, right? Yeah, orders. And yeah, I can just copy paste this over here. And it instead of orders SQL data, it will be orders, right? I should have named it orders only rather than orders SQL data, something like that. That's handy, right? I don't really need to you know uh, learn SQL, but I still would need to understand that that SQL tables are created and there is a create table command, right? I might not need to learn SQL, but I would still have to understand these, right? Within schema, can we increase or decrease the columns? Yes, you can actually. So let's just go to orders and let's just add another field, and instead of status, but you cannot, generate additional columns using AI. Then you will have to do it manually, right? It will be, let's say this. Okay. No need to learn SQL now. No, there is still need to learn SQL. If you remember, the best performing model is still human. The human brain is still the best performing model, and by a large factor, right? 93% to 77.5% is a huge delta, right? So I just created all of these schemas and just copy pasted them as multi-line strings. I hope you guys know that in Python, triple quotes denotes multi-line strings. Okay. 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 How can machine be humans? That's a separate philosophical discussion for another session, Pradeep. But yeah. So Again, this is not important code to remember. And if you don't understand this particular piece of code, that's perfectly fine, because this is around, uh, creating the database. And ultimately, today's topic is prompt engineering, right? So let's just call our database e-commerce, right? It's a standard in SQLite that your database name should end with .db. It's a simple standard. And basically, it creates a temporary folder called ecommerce.db as well. Okay. And yeah, for each column that you will have data types. Again, you can copy paste this from over here. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So how do you create a database? Well, all you need to do is connect to the database, which does not exist, and just run any blank query, and your SQLite database will be created for you. Okay. Yes. Sir, I request you, sir, Anjali, I rarely open LinkedIn. Okay. So, okay. Okay. Please summarize till now. It's been an hour. Yeah, we at first we are removing the database if any. Yeah, we are removing the database if any. Okay. Okay. Then all we need to do is create the tables, empty tables. Please remember this cursor dot execute creates the SQL, executes your SQL query. And remember, we are creating table if does not exist. Okay. So this will create our customers, our products, and our orders. Please remember, the order or the order of the execution is absolutely critical. You cannot create orders before customers or products, because orders references products and customers, right? In the orders table, you have information that is contained within the customers and the products table. Okay. Okay. Then I've basically written a small code that you can basically use to basically push the data, the CSV file from the customers, push the CSV file to the database, right? So the customers.csv will go into the customers table, the products.csv will go to the products table, the orders.csv will go to the orders table. Okay. Okay. Why are we removing database at first? No particular reason. Uh, because I mean, it's just a standard. Okay. Why put SQL query in triple quotes and not a string double quote? So, uh, in case you didn't know, there's no such thing as double quoted multi-line string. So you guys see that these are multiple lines, right? So if I have to do something like ABCD, I don't know how to type, it seems, right? EFG, this will create an error. You guys see that this is black, IJK, right? So to ensure that all of this is treated as a multi-line string, you have to do triple quotes. Okay. This is a very basic thing in Python. Uh, uh, Thank you for asking. I am sure a lot of other folks did not understand that. Please, please ask anything if you have any doubt. I will try to cover and there are a lot of comments, but I will try to cover everything. So can we create a data set using Mockro and post it on Kaggle? Yes, you can definitely. Okay. I don't know about the legality, but I don't think that it's going to be an issue, right? So this small piece of code does a few things. One, it reads the file, gets the expected schema from the column data types. Okay. Okay. Then it just handles any missing columns or extra columns. Okay. And if there is any missing column, then we just fill it with none. I don't see that it will happen, but in case it does happen, I've put in this code. Okay. Then reorder the columns. The CSV files may have a different order than the one you put in over here. So just reordering the columns just to make sure that the column order is the same, right? And then I'm enforcing the data type. So if you are reading the file as CSV, sometimes reading the CSV creates a bit of a mess and everything gets read as a string. So we have to just ensure that this schema is followed, right? And then finally, I'm able to do this. So in case you don't want to do all of this, that's perfectly fine. You guys can literally comment this piece and it will still work. But I wanted to do this because I want you guys to use this notebook for future purposes as well, where you might have much more complex data, right? So that is why I created this, right? And all you need to do is df.toSQL, right? This pushes the data frame that we read as CSV and cleaned into this particular table, the connection being this one, the SQLite 3.connect. Okay. And if it exists, append, otherwise it will be created, and the index, the row numbers are not kept. Okay. Okay. Can you, so how many of you didn't understand? Okay. So what we'll do, we'll first understand the SQL part, and then we'll talk about the data cleaning part. So we could have exported it as SQL as well, but I do not like doing that because it creates some issues. Let's not talk about those today, but yeah. So let's talk about the SQLite code first, and then can you turn off dark mode? What dark mode? Where is the dark mode? Turn on the dark mode. Uh, do I really have to? I really don't like it. Okay. Okay. So I'll just continue. There are conflicting opinions, so I'll take my opinion and I'll continue. Okay. 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 So let's just talk about the SQLite commands. Everybody understood that we are creating a DB. The name of the DB is e-commerce, right? And it is a SQLite standard to end your database name with .db. Everybody understood this? Yes, no? Yes. Okay. Then how do we connect or create a database? Well, there's no explicit, there is, but I didn't use it. There are explicit ways to create databases as well. But what I did was I said connect to this database, which does not exist right now, and execute an empty query, basically. If you try to do that, your database will be automatically created. So basically SQLite does this. If your database does not exist, it will create it for you. Understood? Okay. Then, so remember we defined all of the the schemas for all of the tables, create table commands from the mock data that we were downloading, right? Now, remember, this is a new database. These tables don't exist right now. So we'll have to create these tables. So how do we create these tables? We create these tables using the execute command. Now this execute command is not just for create tables. You can execute any kind of query with this execute command. But in this particular case, we are creating tables. First, we are creating the customers table, then we are creating the products table, and finally the orders table. Okay, understood? Yes, no? Okay, okay. Now, over here, I'm creating a dictionary. Now, over here, I'm creating a dictionary. This dictionary contains the CSV file name and the table name. The CSV file name and the table name. The CSV file name and the table name. One CSV file name for customers, table name for customers, product name, product CSV file name, product table name, order CSV file name, and orders table name. Cool. Now, why did I do that? So I did that because I wanted to execute a for loop, right? I did not want to, you know, so basically once I've created a table, I will then need to push data to that table, that the data that we have created. Yes, no? We'll have to push the data. Okay. To, but instead of, writing the separate data, push the data code for customers and then products and then orders, I just created this dictionary to run the code, write the code once, but in a for loop, right? So CSV file name, table file name in this dictionary. Understood? Okay. Okay. Then how do I push the data? I say data frame, the DF that I read over here. So obviously I'll have to read the CSV file, right? Using pd.read_CSV. I hope you guys remember this piece of code. Then basically let's ignore this portion of the code for now. Okay. Then we say that publish this data or push this data frame that we just read from the CSV file into this table. Now, table name for customers CSV file will be customers, right? And if the table already exists, don't override the data, just append to the table. That's it. Is that understood? Yes, no? Okay. So basically, we understand how to push data to the table. We understand how to create a table. We understand how to create a database. We understand how to get the mock data. We understand how to create the mock data, right? So all of our data related things are now finally done. Okay? Okay. So should we move ahead? Okay. So now, how do we access? I hope everybody has heard of Gemini, Google Gemini. Yes, now we move to the science part. Good. Okay. So, how many of you have heard about Google Gemini 2.5 Flash? It's a really, really good model, right? It's a really, really amazing model. 2.5 Pro is also is much better, but I don't think we'll get free access to it. But yeah. So, what I want you to do is go to this link. And can I pin this comment? No. How do I pin this comment? You don't pin this comment. Okay. Anyway, so I'll just message this multiple times. Go to this link. It's not just students, everybody has free access. Okay. Now, how do you create your API key? Can we get the API key of OpenAI for free? No. Okay. Oh, students get Pro for free. I have to pay for it, Pratham. Okay. It seems like students get it for free, but 99% of use cases will be you know uh, solvable via 2.5 Flash. Okay, so let's talk about how you can create keys. As you can see, there are multiple keys that I have created. Okay, so let me just create a new key, and I will have multiple projects, but you guys have to create a project on your own, and you can create this fairly simply. There will, instead of create an API key in existing project, right? You will, it will show create project, right? So I am out of the projects that I can do, right? So I can just create this API key, and it's taking a lot of time, but yeah. Now I have access to an API key. I obviously, you know, okay. So are there any questions? Just a second. Everybody should be able to don't show. And don't worry, I will not be showing my API key. The API key that I'll be showing, I will be deleting immediately after this class. So don't worry about this. Go to billing. Yes, so that I can show you guys my credit card. Anyway, so let's just talk about free tier Google Gemini. And let's just Google it. Okay. So, in fact, let me just do one thing. Let's just do rate limits Google Gemini instead of free tier. My screen sharing is paused. Who paused it? It's okay. It's okay. So for 2.5 Pro, you can use 250,000 tokens per day. But remember, 2.5 Pro uses like 10,000 or maybe even 20,000 tokens every other request, right? 2.5 Flash also has the same number of tokens, but it's absolutely amazingly much better and at, not using tokens. So you may be able to. So this will be, you guys will not need any other AI API, LLM API, because you will have access to 2.5 Flash, and it will be absolutely, absolutely, absolutely amazing, and it will be absolutely complete, right? Tokens means words. Okay. Okay. So yeah, per minute. Okay. So yeah. So there are limits and standard API. There will be upper limits, but it would be very, very rare for a student to hit that limit. Very rare. Very rare. We can also use Olama, yes. But now you guys see that for each, I can create multiple API keys. So even if you hit, the rate limits of one API key, you can use much more, many, many, many API keys, right? Or if you look at it, other than one, other than two, every other is free tier, right? I do pay for these, but let's ignore them. So yeah, I'll definitely not be showing those. But yeah, let's just, you will get such a API key, and I'll show this. It's okay. Okay. So you will get this API key, and you can just click on copy, and then I will just click on delete. Okay, so that you guys don't use my API key. Okay. Now, what you can do is add this API key to the secrets in Colab. Okay. Now, again, I'll repeat, add this API key to the secrets in collab. So how do you do that? Firstly, you will have to click on this. You guys see this? This is secrets, this key icon. Then you can add a new secret. Let's say I'll just call it ABC for now. And then you can just paste the key value, the key that I just deleted, right? Okay. And then you will have to do notebook access. And I'll repeat these three steps again. I know these are fairly simple, but let's do something. Okay. So I'll have to give a good API name, variable name. So let's just say ABC, right? Then I'll paste the API key, okay, in the value column. Then I'll do this to give notebook access. Please remember not to actually name your API key ABC. It should be a good name. For example, I have named this, let's see what I have named this, Google underscore API underscore key. Okay. So please remember to give a good name. It should not be ABC or something. Are these secret keys persistent in Google Colab? Yes. If you create a new Google Colab notebook, that notebook will have will not access, but have knowledge of these secrets, and then you will have to explicitly go and give access. All notebooks that you create will have knowledge of these secrets, but not until and unless you explicitly provide access by clicking on this particular toggle switch. Okay, not a notebook cannot have access to this particular API key. Okay. .env is not something that you should use in the Google Colab environment, because it will be deleted, right? In Google Colab provides you a secrets, literally a space to save your secrets. This is why .env files are good standard code when you're working in .py files or Jupyter Notebook in your local, but not for Google Colab. Okay. Okay. So everybody now has access to Google's latest GenAI models, right? Isn't that amazing? I know you guys are a bit eager to play around and experiment with those those API keys, but I would strongly urge you guys to stay and listen to me, right? Okay. So to access Google GenAI, you have to literally just install a library called Google-GenAI. Okay. However, if I remember correctly, in literally the last release of Google Colab, I think it came yesterday itself, this library comes pre-installed. Okay. So you won't even have to run this particular line of code. Okay. Now, how do you access this secret? No, these notebooks are not, the secrets are not shared when you share a notebook. When you download these notebooks, does the secret come with it? No. It stays very strictly in this environment. Okay. Okay. It's like you're literally, if this gets shared, whenever you share, it defeats the purpose of security of secrets, right? Okay. So, Google-GenAI. From this particular library, you just from Google import GenAI. Okay. That's not much to talk about. Okay. Then to access secrets, yeah, again, remember this piece of code is only when you are working with Google Colab. To access secrets, you will have to do from Google Colab, import user data. Okay. Is that understood? This is only for Google Colab. Okay. Now let's just create a GenAI LLM API client. So how do you do that? Well, it's fairly simple. We imported GenAI.client, and then you have to just pass the API key. Remember, this is not a optional parameter. This is a named parameter, API underscore key in all lower characters. And you have to you can pass it like this, or you can store it in another variable and then get it. But again, it has to be passed in a secure manner, right? And now we can use Google's Gemini for whatever purpose we want. User data is again to access Google secrets, collab secrets. So user data dot get Google API key. Remember, we named this Google API key, Google underscore API underscore key. Okay. Okay. Are there any questions that I might have missed before I move ahead? Okay. Okay. So finally, last tangent before we finally move to text to SQL, let's learn about prompt engineering. Okay. I know this is, again, remember, this is not a text to SQL class. This was supposed to be a prompt engineering class, right? I hope you guys remember. I just am trying to, uh, cover a really interesting use case with prompt engineering. Okay. So, uh, I have written an article as well, and I'll share the link as well. It's in the notebook as well. But basically, there are a few certain components in a effective prompt. Prompt engineering is about creating effective prompts. Okay. So what I hope everybody knows what prompt engineering is. Okay. Good. Okay. So the first component, and I'll just zoom a bit. The first component is the role or the persona that you want your LLM to take. So, for example, you are a senior technical support specialist. Now, why do you want to give your LLM a role? Well, basically, you are forcing the model to just focus on a particular section of the knowledge base it has. So let's say, remember, LLMs are trained on a variety of data, on a large amount of data. And by saying things like you are a senior technical support specialist, you are a senior, developer, senior architect, you're forcing it to just focus on the technical portion of its database. So whenever it gives you a response, it will give you a response through a specific lens of expertise, tone, and style. You're basically ensuring that your LLM has become domain specific. Okay. Okay. So everybody understood role? Anybody who didn't understand? Any unique role? So the model can understand any unique role. So you can ask, say, like you are a chef who specializes in creating artistic and interesting recipes. You are a psychologist, okay, who understands people, things like that. Okay. Like providing a preamble, you can say that. So again, I'll repeat, when you provide a role to an LLM, it assumes that role, and instead of looking at this size of the data, it will look at a very small subsection of its data set and respond using that small subset. So you can be very sure that the response will be in such a manner that it is of a specific expertise, of a specific tone, of a specific style, as prescribed in the role or persona. Okay. Yes, it does narrow and boost and narrow the, not the answer, but the database. Okay. Then think about a human. Most humans perform better when they are provided, the why. If you provide them a task, right? And then you just say, do it because I'm saying it. Many humans will not perform it with their heart, right? Many humans will not perform that particular task well. But if you explain what is the reason behind this task, what is the history that has led to this task, what is the information that has led to this task, that generates a much better task performance from the human. Yes, no, yes. And that is how an LLM is also behaving. If you provide this background information, if you provide this context, the necessary background, basically, the history, the product documentation, the previous conversation turns, or any other data that adds story to the task, you will be getting a better response. Understood? Don't ask me why, because nobody knows why this happens. Okay? Literally nobody knows why this happens. Okay. And then obviously you have to define the core of the prompt, which is the task. It's sometimes called the instruction directive. About the task, I will just say keep it less than 2-3 lines, and always use something called as direct action verb. Your sentence should start with, when your task should start with, analyze, summarize, generate, classify, categorize, run the code or something like that. Okay. It should start with a direct action verb. Is that understood? Okay. Then there's something called as shots. Not the shots that we take, but the shots that the LLM takes is basically examples. Okay. So these are examples. The technical term for examples is also shots. And that is why you hear all of this zero shot learning, few shot learning, one shot learning, one shot prompting, zero shot prompting, few shot prompting. So this is where the term one shot, few shot thing, multi shot, whatever shot you want to take, the LLM wants to take, that is where the term comes from. So now, if you provide examples, and you should, right? What should be the input and the output that you are expecting from the LLM? These should be really, really high quality examples. Remember, these should be high quality. Now, this will, the phrase high quality would mean different for different use cases. Okay. So this is uh, what would be the optimal length for examples. So again, the question, it depends on the use case. If you have a really complex use case, then you should have a really complex example as well, and not just one, maybe multiple. But if you have a very simple use case, then maybe a small example would do, right? So this depends on use case to use case. What problem are you trying to solve? And yeah, so if you provide examples, this is where you would need to do a lot of work. You will have to understand what the input you are creating. You will have to understand what is the output you should be expecting even before you are able to run the model itself, right? So this is something that you will have to learn, do beforehand. Okay, right. So everybody understood these four pieces? Yes, no? Not just the output, but the input as well. So you will have to give a complete example. So what is the input and what is the output? Then finally, there are two more things. One is, what should the LLM not do? So, for example, so these are called constraints, but a much more popular term for them is guardrails. I think you must have heard of LLM guardrails. Okay. So you should, so for example, you say, do not respond with just uh, a filler content, do not respond with unnecessary text, do not respond with this, that. Okay. The word not should be present when you are doing these things, when you are explaining constraints. Okay. Guardrails are like fences. In case you didn't know, literally the word guardrails comes from guardrails. Not this guardrails. This is not something that you guys need to worry about. Uh, Guardrails. Why is this happening? And guardrails.com. Wow. Absolute wow. So I'll just do guardrails meaning. So you see them at the road, on roads, sometimes even on a train, or even anything that prevents people from falling off the edge. Okay, so this is where the term came from. Okay, now finally, if you can provide this in the out example, excellent. But you need to provide the output format and the structure. So should it be JSON, Markdown? What should it be? If you are able to provide it in the examples itself, nothing like it. Okay, understood? Yes, no? Redco, nice. Role, example, task, context, constraint, and output. Nice, good. What's the role of LLM, sir, if we are giving it everything? The role of the LLM is to provide generalization. You might be able to give answers for a few specific examples, but not for all and every example. Okay. So the goal of prompt engineering uh, is to basically ensure that your model understands what you are trying to do. That is the goal of prompt engineering. Okay. So if you are trying to make AI as human as possible, can giving it a constraints of reward. Yeah, I didn't understand your sentence, Siddharth. Okay. So Tanmay and Anjali, that's a really good question. I hope I answered your question. The role of prompt engineering is to ensure that your LLM generalizes really, really well. Okay. Now, um, I also want to give a simple additional advice is that if you can add like ensure whenever you're giving this massive prompt, okay, you basically segregate each of these sections. You can do that with things like hash 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 instruction hash hash hash, or you can do it with star star or something like that. Basically, the title of the section should be explicitly clear. Yes. Okay. Now, is creating this prompt difficult or easy? Easy as English. So, so creating all of these sections and this prompt is easy. Just a few people are answering. So there's a very good answer. Tell AI to create prompt. That's an interesting approach, Ratish. And in fact, uh, I have done that for you. So there's this article that I wrote, and this explains the role, the impact, the context, task, everything in much more detail. And there is this gray section. You guys see this gray section? Yes, no? So what? Let's just do this. Let's just copy this entire gray section and okay, let's go to chat GPT. No, still logged out. Okay, and let's just paste this. Can you guys provide a use case? Some use case that you want to do, solve via prompt engineering? Data science, okay. So teach me data science. I want to learn data science. Cool. That's it. Okay. Okay. I'll do enter and it will generate a prompt for you. Just FYI, creating this prompt that creates your prompts. It took me like 2.5 weeks, so please appreciate it and use it. Okay. So it will give you examples. It will give you output format. It will give you constraints. It will give you a very, very detailed task. It will give you context, role, right? So to be honest, I don't think I would have been able to create such a detailed prompt. Okay. I don't know how many of you would be able to, but I wouldn't have been able to. So what I'll do, I'll just copy this and how do I go to new chat? But yeah, I don't use chat GPT. I'm sorry. Okay. So and I'll just remove this extra filler content from chat GPT that's still created. And I'll just teach me from the basics. Maybe some data science concept I want to learn. Let's say transformers. And what? What just happened? I did not copy it, remove it correctly. So let me just do that again. So yeah, it's still here that I need to remove, not the other way around. Let's just do this. Concept I want to learn, data science, not data science, transformers. So it will literally talk about the roadmap. It will give you resources. Hopefully there are some GFG resources as well, right? Somewhere. So this is absolutely amazing. It will give you absolutely complete, like amazing detail. Isn't this amazing? I still feel I still use this. Like there's a chatbot in GFG I use it. I created my the prompt engineering that happened. It uses this. So this is absolutely amazing. It's still generating. This is absolutely amazing, right? I still believe it's amazing. Can you give the prompt? I think copy pasting the prompt will be really hard in Zoom chat. I can give you guys the link of the article. Let me just give you guys the link of the article. Can we bypass ChatGPT terms using these constraints so that I have no comment over it? You can try it, but don't use my name once you get caught doing that. Okay. Okay. Put that in the collab. That link is there uh, in the collab. Okay. It's here. Okay. Okay. So what I did, I literally used this prompt framework. So I call it the unified framework for an effective prompt because of this framework, I don't believe that you will need to learn any other prompt engineering approach. That is my very strong belief, and you can literally try it out, right? So can you guys, if there are any questions, I hope people are still listening. Yeah. So I use this to create this prompt, and it's an absolutely gigantic prompt, and it gives us sample queries and everything. Let me in fact just run all. Let's just see if some everything is running. Okay. Okay. So let's just go through the role. You're an expert level, the prompt SQLite database engineer specializing in natural language to SQL translation. Your sole function is to convert user questions written in plain English into accurate, efficient, syntactically correct SQLite queries based on a fixed schema, right? And it has given examples as well. So I'll just go through: analyze the user's query, map to the schema, construct the SQLite query, handle ambiguity. You guys see that all of the 3 4 tasks that it was I said at the beginning, I never passed these things to the model, to the prompt engineering framework, right? And yet it was able to decipher and create such an amazing prompt. Okay. And I urge you guys to go through this prompt in with in absolute detail. So for example, there's a simple lookup example: show me all the customers who live in Noida, and the expected output is this, which is status, success, response. And you guys see that in the example itself, it's providing JSON. Yes, no? Okay, good. Then complex join and aggregation. So you guys see how it is increasing the level of examples as well. What are the top 3 products with the highest total revenue? And it is creating a really long query, and it is saying descending limit 3 again. These are examples that I did not create. Okay. Ambiguous query: show me recent orders. So it will say clarification needed. Can you define what recent means? For example, in last 7 days, this month, or since August 2025. Impossible query: which warehouse has the most stock? Error: I cannot answer this question as database does not contain information about warehouses. So again, these are really amazing examples that cover a variety of data edge cases. I don't think I would have been able to provide this. So in case you don't know what are these or these are markdown syntaxes that you can learn fairly easily. Definitely learn it, because we'll be using markdown a lot. Okay, in fact, when I was using this chat GPT, and in fact, if I just do this, if I copy paste this, you see these are all markdown content, right? Okay, this is all gendered rendered as markdown. Okay. Okay. Output format, your final response must be a single JSON object with two keys, status, a string with three possible values, success, clarification needed, or error. If status is success, this will be a string containing this complete SQLite query. Again, absolutely amazing, right? How did you? Okay. Now, what I will do, I will use, first of all, I will, pass the prompt and the user query. Remember in the original diagram, we were passing the prompt and the database schema and the SQL dialect along with the user query, right? The user query is also being passed over here. Okay. We'll pass all of this. In case you don't know what f strings are, there is a small link that passes that explains what are f strings. So basically, here's the query in English that you need to work on, and the entire prompt and the query and everything, you need to pass this as contents. Okay. You can define the model, the one that you want to use. Gemini 2. I'm over here, I'm using Gemini 2.5 Flash, and you can say Gemini.client models generate content. Is that understood? Okay. So we understand that we created a very massive prompt. Yes, no? Okay. We understand that the user will give a query in English. Yes, no? To the LLM, we'll have to send both the items. Yes? Okay. Now, to send things into the LLM or to basically invoke the LLM, there's a function called generate content. This function is within the GenAI client.models subpackage or the class. Okay, generate content. This generate content, this generate content requires you to pass the model, the one that you want to play with. Yes, the prompt and the query. Yes, and the model you need to pass. It can be a string, it can be a variable, but you'll have to define it earlier. And then all of the contents. Now these contents contain the prompt and the user query. Once you basically pass the contents to this model, it will generate a response. Is that understood? I'm worried that only a few contents is, again, contents is the combination of prompt and the English query passed by the user. I'm worried that only a few people are saying yes, and I'm hoping that everybody is listening. We will talk about context, Harinder, maybe next to next class, is it? But we'll talk about context. So we defined the SQL dialect over here. No, this is not MCP. We are not going to talk about MCP. Can you show the user query for a second? So the user query has not been initialized as of now. It's we are creating a function. that takes the model, the prompt, and the user query. Okay, it has not been defined as of now. Okay. No, user query we'll have to send. Okay, it's okay, it's okay. I'll explain. So let me just showcase what is going to happen. So it's going to look like this, where I'm sending the GenAI client the prompt and what my query in English. This is going to be a function call. Okay. Okay. So let's come back. Okay. So now when you get the response, you don't just get the response, but you also get some metadata around the response. What does that mean? Related data, configuration. Yes, both of them are correct. Data about data. Yes, correct. So I urge you guys to do something like print a response and play around with it. Okay. But the most important metadata will be the token count. Any guesses why? Manifest is not here. Yes. So if you remember the rate limits, or not the rate limits, the free tier. Let's just search for free tier again. And you see there's a charge by token. So it's per 1 million token, $1.25. It may seem small, but remember we are constructing a really large prompt. Okay. So what is the input token count? So remember there are three kinds of token counts. The input token count, also called the prompt token count. The thinking or thought token count. Many of these models are thinking LLMs that we'll talk about at a later stage when we are talking about agentic AI. Okay. Thinking LLMs have also a thought token count. Those that thinking is not free as well. It's expensive in fact, right? And then the output token called count, which is called the candidate token count. Okay. And obviously there's a total token count which combines all three. So the metadata contains information around this. Okay. No, the user query is not limited, but there's a cost associated to the user query and the prompt. Mario, yes, this notebook will be shared at the end of the session. Okay. Any questions here? Let's just wait a minute for questions. My GitHub, I barely use GitHub, man. Could we remove the thought process to decrease the token used? Yes. How much accuracy will it affect? So, for example, you can use Gemini 2.5 Flash to basically reduce the thinking. Okay. If you use Gemini 1.5 Flash, thinking token counts will be 0, right? Because those are not thinking models. If you use Gemini 2.5 Pro, the thinking token count will be much more than the input and output combined. Okay. Okay. I use GitLab. Any questions around the course? Around this lecture, not the course, sorry. I know we are learning a lot of things, but please remember, I have not taught anything difficult today. It may seem so because I've taught a lot of things today. Okay. Okay. So we are not done yet. This response will only contain the SQL query. We still need to execute this response, and we just have, again, remember, we can create a function, execute query. You can push the query that has been generated by the LLM in the execute function, and you can pass it as a data frame. Okay. Okay. Now, these are a couple of functions that I urge you. I understand that, I don't want to overburden you with a lot of information, but we are not doing anything other than executing the query in this particular function. In this particular function, I have named this literally text to SQL, which first I'm getting the query and then I'm executing it. That's it. Okay. So let's play around with the data then. Anybody wants to, so let's play around with the query, with the data. So text to SQL, the client that we created, the prompt that we created, and the query that we have. So show me the order count by country. And you see this is the input token count. The prompt, remember, all the prompt is absolutely massive in tokens, right? The thinking token count was very little. The output token count was much less, right? And this is the query. And you can see that this is a bit complex query, but it worked really fine. Show me the order count by country. It seems to be working really well. It is the country and the order count. It has named the column as well as order count. Yeah. Anybody wants to like try a query? It's not showing in CSV format, it's showing in data frame format. So another query that I played around with was, what are my most popular products? And it understood what I meant. It understood what I'm trying to say. Okay. And it said product name and the total quantity sold. Let's just, can you guys, which country do I sell the most to? I think I took that up. Okay, so let's just run this. We'll just copy paste this. Which country do I sell the most to, right? Which country do I sell the most to? China. Okay. Okay. Mm, average number of orders per day by country. So I'll just run this again. Let's just see what happens. And see that I have not given like a good spelling of average. And no such column T2 dot database error. So let's just try to execute this again. It failed. Nice. Yeah. Oh, average orders per day. Now it didn't fail. So it's giving a better response. So again, remember in most text to SQL systems, what happens is that the query will never be right the first time round. So you will have to basically run it again and again and again. And there's a retry mechanisms in most of these mature systems. Okay. Highest sold product, highest sold product, wouldn't that be fairly easy to get? But okay. Product with the highest sale in the last month. Okay. How will we verify this? You will have to do that manually. What country is most populous? That's interesting. It is not showing it for some reason. Huh? But query executed successfully, are this is coming too small for some reason. That's weird. Okay. What country is most populous? It should give me an error, right? This should give me an error. China by customer ID. That populate product name to a temp column, and if column doesn't exist, create a temp column name. Okay, that's a very, very complex query, man. I don't know if it will do that. I cannot fulfill it involves creating or modifying columns. So chalo, good. Okay. Uh, they did not have the same value, so I'll just run this again. Average number of orders by country. There are so many chats. Thamba, thamba. Okay, so you guys see that this is not, you know, one for everyone. Okay. Okay, there are so many questions. Are there two tables? Can it do a join? Yes, it was able to do a join, man. Join customers on, right? Doesn't give a proper result, I guess. I feel like it gave a proper result. Truncate the order tables. I think the prompt that we created, it showed that it is adding as a constraint not to provide not to update the data. Austria has the least sales, make typos knowingly. So let's see what happens. It's still executing perfectly fine. Okay, which country? Can you try DML commands? No, this is not. We will not do the things. Okay, rank the products. Okay, rank the products. I'll just copy paste this. This is fun. I mean, you can try to break it. Clarification needed. By quantity sold. Which country ranks in the middle? Arre, baap re, somebody is after the country, man. What just happened? Which I need to know which metric you would like to use by total sales, I guess. So it's good, right? It's asking for clarification. This would be a really difficult query if it, I would be impressed. It's taking its time. We haven't seen this take so much long. Yeah. Oh, damn. This is a nice query. You guys see this absolute scary query? Yeah, it's using common table expressions as well. I never said you to use common table expressions. So somebody asked, what is the rank of India? What is the rank of India? What is the rank of India? But it gets by. I actually don't want to remove this, to be honest. Let's not remove this. And let's just open up a new cell. Okay. Which rank? Rank of India by total sales. No, so some reason it's showing something, but uh, Google Colab is not able to like print it out for some reason. Rank and count of sales. Ciao. We will be done after this. So there are other queries as well that I played around with. It's not working for this, it seems, for some reason. I like that we were able to break this and we were absolutely impressed by it as well. Like this one was absolutely like blew my mind as well. Despite me creating the system, it blew my mind. But yeah, this was absolutely amazing. Uh, yeah, some boot cheap. Okay, yeah, okay. So, what is your submission going to be? And so I have, so firstly, I would want you guys to go through how we can improve this. Obviously, we can use something like RAG and we can fine tune a pre-trained model. But again, the most common step that most people take is building a more complex system where, instead of creating a one single LLM for a database which might contain 50, 60, 20, 100, or even 1,000 tables. We build, like an agent that owns maybe 5 to 10 tables, another agent that owns 5 to 10 tables, another agent that owns 5 to 10 tables, and basically we build an agent on top of them that understands the query and knows which agent to connect to. Okay. But uh, basically, the submission is, can you create a data set for employees? And I'll give you guys free hand. You can create one table, two table, three table, four table, five table. And again, uh, the table may or may not be created using Mockery, but I should be able to have access to both the data as well as the notebook that you have, that you generate. So is the submission clear? So again, I'll repeat the submission again. You need to do the same exact exercise. You need to change the data, and probably you will have to change the prompt as well, because remember the prompt is fine tuned for the what the e-commerce database that we created. Okay. So would you guys like a a quick recap of all the things that we learned today? But you used said not to use Mokru. No, no, I didn't say not to use Mokru. I said that some of you may not like Mokru, some of you may love it. It's your call. The only thing is that you should be able to generate data from somewhere. Mokru is obviously recommended to ease your life. And yeah, RAG we are going to learn in a bit. Okay. Okay. Yes, so you will have to create a database with employees and use prompts to update the prompt as well. Okay, so please let me just wrap it up, and we first talked about what is text to SQL, how text to SQL is nothing but just another language, right? Where we are using English language and the SQL language. Please, no more chats for 2 more minutes. Okay. Okay. We talked about the various stages of text to SQL, how there are 4 stages, and any system that you design will have to follow these 4 stages, no matter how complex or simple, right? Then we talked a bit about the challenges of these systems, these text to SQL systems. We looked at the benchmarks and the state of the art models, and we realized that actually the best model, even to this day, is human performance, right? And we then talked about something called as Mokru. Mokru basically helps us in creating these schemas. So you can literally just generate a new data, create a new schema, save it as a schema, and you can literally just add it to a data set and ensure that there is foreign references, capability of foreign references. So even though it's random, we looked at generation of fields using AI, which gave us really, really amazing and sensible data. And we learned about how we can literally link data sets, link tables, link CSV files in a very, very efficient manner without literally pulling out our hair. Something that I don't have much, but yeah. Then we looked at uh, how we can publish this data that we generated to a SQLite database using a very small command. There is some cleanup command that you may or may want to ignore, may or may not want to ignore. Okay. Then we looked at something called as Google AI Studio, that allows you to basically get free access to Google's most powerful LLMs. We understood that we need to add these to our collab secrets, right? And then we talked about how we can create prompts. We talked about the components of the prompts. We literally looked at a prompt framework that literally took out all of the fun of prompt engineering, and you have a prompt to create prompts, and an absolutely mind-blowing output was created, right? Then we looked at how to generate response from the prompts, from the user queries. We also talked about how the token count is really, really critical metadata. Okay. Then we literally started experimenting using our function based approach. Okay, text to SQL, or and show me the order by country, what are my most popular products. We saw that it did absolutely amazing sometimes, we saw that it did absolutely poor sometimes, but we also understood that most modern text to SQL systems have something called as a retry mechanism, right? So this is where most systems flourish. Okay. So this is it for today. I hope we understood. Uh, okay. Okay, Sampoon GPT. So I hope you understood many things. I understand that we learned a lot of things today, but please remember, none of it was difficult. It was just a lot. Okay. It's okay to be these are meant to be information dense sessions. You guys can literally review the recordings, go through the sessions again as per your own convenience. Please try to do review it as soon as possible, because the session is fresh in your mind. Yes. Thank you for my t-shirt. Thank you so much. I hope it was knowledgeable. I hope it was nice. And I hope all 300 people were listening. Now, I'll just take one more second just to download and upload the page as the notebook, and I would ask you guys to check if the notebook is available in the live section of the resources page, the resources section of the live page. Can you guys check? I have, Varun, I have listed all of the links, Mokru, the benchmark, the unified prompt framework article link, all of those are in the Google Colab. Can somebody tell me if the notebook is accessible in the resources? Uh, okay. Okay. So let me just end live, and I have already uploaded it. I hope it will be available to you guys as soon as possible. And thank you for today. Thank you. There's no specific number of data, anything that you guys can generate. Okay. Thank you so much.